Yes, we are live. Hello, botpreneurs. It's good to be live again after quite a long break. And this evening we have a great session for you guys. For us it's evening here in Europe, but good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today the session is called AI Agents and Voice Technology: Navigating the Age of LLMs and Privacy Concerns. And we have AudioCodes as guests. Welcome, Remy and Peter. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Barend, for inviting us.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. There's a bit a lag in Peter's connection, but we'll just do our best. Yeah, great. We already got some people responding in the chat. That's great. John's watching from St. Petersburg, Florida. Dan from Oregon. Remco from Purmerend. That's around the corner from my place in Amstelveen. An anonymous user from Maastricht, South Africa, Dallas, Zuidland, Netherlands. Rob Lawson from Emgeluf. Okay, cool. And Subu from Toronto, Canada. Great. People are dripping in, and we have quite a big to-do list. Some general remarks. Yeah, you can ask questions in chat, of course, and we will do our best to answer them right away. If it's too technical or something like that, Peter or Remy will get back to you. And if your business would like to attend to one of these interviews, just send me a DM and we can see what we can work out. Peter, no, maybe Remy, maybe you can start by telling us how you got involved in conversational AI. What was your journey so far?
Well, thanks, Barend. Yeah, well, I'm in IT and sales. I think it's in mid-90s, to be honest. So it looks like I'm extremely old. Happened a lot since then. So had several companies before I joined AudioCodes, always in the service integration and IT space. Within AudioCodes now for 7 years, commercially responsible for our enterprise customers and partners who have their headquarters in Benelux Nordics, and obviously responsible there to position the entire portfolio of AudioCodes, and obviously AI agents and services around AI is part of that portfolio. But pretty sure we will have that allocated later in this session.
Yeah, for sure. It's really never a dull moment in our industry, but I was saying that already before the LLMs. But the last 2 years were crazy, but the last half year is insane, I would say.
It's going really fast. When you look at AudioCodes, we're definitely not a new kid on the block, right? We're there for over 30 years and always in the voice space. And obviously this evolved over time, significantly. Voice is not only telephony anymore, right? It's in multiple areas, and especially this topic as AI is evolving extremely fast and in very interesting ways. And that's why AudioCodes prefers to be on top of that wave and those developments as well.
Yeah, exactly. I see that Peter is trying to get back in. It's always challenging live sessions.
Yeah, sorry guys. Struggling here with internet access. I'm not sure what's happening, but hey, we're there.
Yeah, maybe you just stick to voice. That's the theme of the evening.
We can hear you loud and clear, Peter. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Exactly. You can do a test later if the webcam wants to work along, and otherwise switch back to voice. 1 minute. Cool. More people are dropping in. Remy just introduced himself and already told a bit about AudioCodes. So Peter, maybe you can share with the audience how you ended up in conversational AI and voice with AudioCodes.
Interesting story. I've been in this industry for the last more than 20 years now, 25 years, I think. Initially started way back in the days at HP, when HP was doing, HP Services was doing a lot of voice. So I was doing the networking and security at the time for HP in the Benelux, when Cisco started with their voice over IP. And that's actually when I got introduced into this space. So it was early 2000s or late 1990s when I got introduced. And since then, never been out of this space. So then was doing Cisco in the beginning, then switched to Avaya, been with Avaya for a number of years, then all the contact centers for Avaya. So the large enterprise accounts, some of the BPOs worldwide. Then switched to what they call session border controllers in the beginning for Acme Packet. And now the last 8 years for AudioCodes. And I think since the last 5 years, been doing a lot of conversational AI already. So even before everybody got acquainted with it, since 2022 when ChatGPT hit the world. So I've been in this space for way too long already.
But you're not planning on leaving, right?
No, absolutely not. It's way too interesting.
It's just too much fun and challenging.
Oh yeah, it's too much. It's too much fun. I mean, if you see what changes literally every day in this field, it's amazing, and it keeps at least my job very interesting. Also sometimes challenging, but it's a joy to be able to work in this space, and I hope to be able to do this for the next. I live in Belgium, right? I'm 51. I need to work until 67, so at least 16 more years to do.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. Great. Yeah, and maybe you want to share a bit more about AudioCodes. Maybe perhaps a little more about from a technical perspective, because if you get technical questions, you're the guy to answer today. And Remy is more of the commercial side of things.
Yeah. So if you look at what AudioCodes does in this space, actually we play in let's say it's two fields. We've got AudioCodes has got their own contact center platform that's called Voca CIC, and that's a Teams native contact center platform in which we integrate AI and conversational AI. So that's the first space where AudioCodes already integrates this native into our own applications. And there, typically, we tend to work with the conversational AI. In the beginning, we used to work with Microsoft Azure Cognitive Services. Now we allow people to bring their own cognitive services. And we integrate what we call agent assist applications. We do call summarization, etc., using LLMs. So that's where we try to make life easy for end customers by integrating AI, LLMs, and all this complex stuff into an easy to deploy, easy to manage solution that's called Voca CIC. So that's one area, and then the more interesting area, if we look at large complex enterprise deployments, is where we help enterprises connect any conversational AI platform with any cognitive service to any contact center out there.
Right.
Which means we're going to try to help you guys connect your Genesys Cloud or your Genesys Engage or your Avaya or your Mitel contact center to Cognigy, Rasa, Microsoft Copilot Studio, Google Dialogflow, Rasa, whatever you want, using whichever cognitive services you want to provide the best solution, and there's then typically going to be best of breed, right? Where we don't rely on, or the enterprise don't rely on, let's say, the AI out of the box from a contact center platform, but want to build the best possible solution using the best possible elements themselves.
Yeah, and that's also a challenge, of course, for your clients, because next month the other LLM will be better, and the month after that. It's a red race, so people want to stay flexible, right? And it has to be
exactly, and that's a very good point, Barend, and that's one of the main reasons why, especially the enterprise accounts, are using Voice AI Connect, so which is the name of the solution we have, because they're flexible in connecting to any bot framework or any LLM using the standard APIs available.
I hear some messages coming in on the telephone. Maybe you can switch it off. Yeah, guys, to the people watching, if you want to share briefly in the comments if you're working on a voice project, please do. We're very interested in that. I promise Remy and Peter won't bother you too much with after sales, but it's just to get a feel of what's going on in this space. Yeah. So I will. Oh, look, there you are.
Yeah, camera works now.
Great.
Yeah, that's good.
Technology is great, right? Especially when it works.
Exactly.
And okay, a bit off topic, but this is why I typically, and a lot of people know this video, right, from these Scottish guys in an elevator that uses 11 exactly. I typically use that when I present about conversational AI, and it goes back to my personal experience just right now, right? Technology is great when it works, but what do you do when it doesn't work?
Exactly.
So that's part of the challenge we need to master, all of us.
Exactly. Great. Yeah. Remy, can you tell a bit more about what kind of clients AudioCodes serves? I know it's very broad, but maybe you can highlight some segments or patterns there.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, well, I don't know if I mentioned it at the start, but AudioCodes is a global company, right? So our enterprises and partner landscape is on a global scale. We work with partners in many areas, which actually evolved over time, right? So then typically we are working very close with the larger service integrators in the world, like Orange, like Entity, like HCL, Cognizant, Infosys, AT&T, the larger players. Obviously, in terms of segments, I always say we like to talk to end customers because that gives us the opportunity to understand their projects, their challenges, their requirements. And at the same time, it gives us the best possible way to position the extensive portfolio that AudioCodes has in the area of voice. I always say when enterprise customers or partners have something going on in voice, we would like to be involved, right? We don't have specific segments there. So we are lucky as AudioCodes that we have a lot of Fortune 500 companies as part of our customer estate, but we also work with smaller customers around the globe. And this is exactly the commercial model that AudioCodes is using by using the partners in our partner landscape, so that we are a global company, but with 1,000 employees. We are not a large company. So in order to be able to scale up and to position our portfolio, we are very close with partners.
Je gaat nu naar mama?
Yeah. So it's very
it's very
broad.
wide. It's very wide, and especially with in the AIs. Typically, we like to talk with end customers here who have contact centers around the globe working, because this typically is in according to my experience. These customers are looking into the world of virtual agents using AI to optimize their customer interaction, right? everybody knows it's very difficult to get the right employees, and if you have them in, it's even more difficult to keep them in.
Yeah.
And also the customer contacts that you have are multiple. It's not only voice, it's coming multi-channel. So the interactions are increasing, but the voice interactions, which a couple of years ago, people were predicting that voice would reduce. Well, this is absolutely not the case, right? Voice is still the massive way, the most important way of communication, and the multi-channel is come together with it. So the customer interactions are increasing. At the same time, it's more and more challenging to keep employees in and to have expensive virtual or physical employees handling the calls. And well, obviously, virtual agents are a great way of at least supporting that massive development.
Exactly. Bots never complain and they never quit.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
And maybe I can add, because you asked about the kind of customers that we worked with, that we work with Barend.
Yes.
If you look at the back in the days, the initial customers we started with was actually very interesting. A lot of those customers, and it's funny because I see a question here about voice and if it's still a viable market, and it relates to that. When I joined AudioCodes 8 years ago, my friends in the space told me I was crazy. They said, AudioCodes is voice. Why are you going to a voice company? I mean, contact center is going to go digital and it's going to be automated. So why are you going to a voice company? Well, a good question, but I'll prove you wrong. And I was 2 years in when some of our large customers came to us and said, well, we listened to the big consultants that said you have to go digital and you have to automate. So they spend a lot of money, a lot of people, a lot of resources on developing digital channels and automating those digital channels. What was the result? That they had automated 15 to max 20% of the total amount of the conversations that were going on in the contact center. So they didn't touch the 80-85% that was still voice. And that was a big problem. So they came to us and they said, well, can you guys help us automate that voice part? And that's exactly why we developed the solution that we now have. And that was together with, in the beginning, actually, we worked with Google when they were trying to add voice to their, at that time, to their chatbots. So we've developed partially in the beginning together with Google the solution, and then started to develop for some of our other big customers. One of them is for example, Vodafone, where we voice-enabled Toby for a major part of the Vodafone markets.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same for a lot of the major banks and insurance companies throughout Europe, and even the US and Latin and APAC.
Right.
There's it's not an official reference customer, but the majority of the people know which one it is. It's a large bank in the Netherlands. That's actually a reference for Genesys and for Microsoft, where we actually connect those two together. And we're doing the same now for a large retail organization in the UK, where we're connecting their Cisco contact center to Rasa for bot frameworks. There are others where we've deployed a large energy company and a large insurance company, where we've done the same between a Cisco contact center and Cognigy, for example. It's kind of...
Oh, no, I want to say, so to answer Garrett's question, yeah, voice is still a very viable market. It's growing rapidly, I think.
It definitely is. So if I look at the numbers, when I joined AudioCodes in 2017, on average, the percentage of voice interactions in the contact center was 85%. Now we're around 72, 73% of voice as part of, well, the total share of interactions. But the percentage has diminished, but the number of interactions has actually grown. So we still see growth in the voice space today. And I see, does it affect things like Teams and WebEx and Zoom? Well, actually, it kind of helps, because a lot of people are now used to doing more with voice again and less with text. So people are just using the phone more and more, and especially, and that's maybe something to think about. What we have seen is initially we tried to do the easy stuff with the digital channels and only have the complex and urgent questions answered by a real agent, right? A live agent, whether it was live chat or on the phone.
Yes.
I think what we're going to see now is that agentic AI is going to take over part of that, and that the real complex questions or urgent ones, that's what they're going to get into with the live agents.
Right. Yeah, that brings me also to this definition debate, because if I open up my LinkedIn timeline, it's agentic this and AI agent that, but there are a lot of different definitions around. What definition does AudioCodes use? What is agentic AI?
Well, honestly, I find that very challenging to say what's agentic AI. I think it's about let's say the AI agent being able to have a human-like conversation with enterprise knowledge, think autonomously, and act autonomously.
Yeah, I think that's the part that's forgotten a lot.
Yeah, I think it's the key here is autonomously. And honestly, Barend, I think that's also where the challenge lies with this agentic AI. Because autonomously thinking agents, question is, how do you control them? And I'm not sure everybody that's thinking of implementing this has thought about this already, and is aware of the consequences if you let an agent or an AI agent decide autonomously how to answer a question and potentially solve something.
Exactly. I think we give away more and more control, because the first bots were scripted, right, and perhaps based on intent recognition, but now, we're letting go, and with the agents we have to let even more go. So
and honestly, especially in the shorter term, I think the ideal solution is going to be the combination of the two, where you will have the combination of scripted with parts and very well chosen, and I'm not sure how I should call it, LLMs, or do I call it then specific AI agents that do a specific task? I'm not sure how to call it, but I think the combination of the two is, at least in the short term, where we will see the most benefit, especially because it allows you to have more control and to it's a challenging space for the moment.
It's a challenging space, but perhaps it's also interesting to identify an internal use case to start with these things. Of course, then you have less risk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and I think what you see there, and I think already Peter touched base a little bit on that at the start of this event, is that when you look at the role of AudioCodes there, is that actually that hasn't changed, although there are massive developments. We started with an open infrastructure policy, I always say, right? It's an open infrastructure, and customers and partners have the middle layer of AudioCodes to connect to any third-party application which is out there. And obviously, as AudioCodes, we have several applications as part of our portfolio. But the beauty is they can choose an AudioCodes application like Voca CIC or Meeting Insights that we have as part of our portfolio, and you connected this to the AudioCodes voice infrastructure layer in between. But if a certain end customer or partner thinks a third-party application suits their needs more, it's still very well possible to connect that as well. So that open infrastructure layer is a very strong message. And at the same time, this gives also the opportunity, because there's so many developments, and today it's good, but you never know if that same development or that same application or that same vendor is still your vendor of choice 1 or 2 years from now. And then you don't want to redesign your entire infrastructure. You just want to, reconnect to a different vendor. And that flexibility, that approach, I think is something that makes us pretty unique, I should say.
Yeah, so it's like the layer in between you guys provide, offering more flexibility.
Exactly. Use best of breed speech to text, text to speech engines, or bot vendors to that middle layer, and you can add and disconnect at a time that suits you best, and when you need and when the need is there.
Right. And I have another question coming in from Subu. Thanks, Subu. Yeah, can you explain a bit what functionalities/features the AudioCode platform provides? But keep it briefly because we're already halfway the session.
Yeah. No worries. So I'll try to explain it with a live example. So if you've got a customer that has a Genesys Cloud contact center, for example, and wants to use Rasa as bot framework for agent assist or virtual agents, doesn't really matter. But they want to use, next to chats and digital channels, they want to use voice. Well, there is no out-of-the-box integration between Genesys Cloud and Rasa. So you need to have an orchestration layer in between that allows you to bring voice to Rasa and connect the contact center with Rasa and the cognitive services. That's exactly what AudioCodes does. So you will have, for example, a call coming into Genesys Cloud. Genesys Cloud will decide whether it routes the call to a live agent or to the bot, because it's a use case that can be handled by the bot. If it can handle by the bot, the call goes to VoiceAI Connect. VoiceAI Connect then starts to orchestrate the call between Rasa and the cognitive services of your choice. And that can then be, for example, Microsoft text-to-speech, speech-to-text. You can use Google, you can use DeepGram, you can use 11 Labs, you can use whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because that's the beauty of AudioCodes. We can connect with kind of anything out there from a text-to-speech, speech-to-text engines.
But clients can also create flows, right? And handle that part even for chat, if I'm correctly.
Yeah, well, we typically use voice, right? So we focus on voice. So typically when you're building the digital channels and voice, the digital channels we don't touch, because we would only cause a delay in that case. So we don't touch the digital channels. We only intervene on the voice part, and we make sure that we orchestrate that call correctly between a customer that goes like, "Hey, welcome to AudioCodes. How can I help you?" And then the bot. So that's the bot saying this customer has a question, and then we start to orchestrate between the speech to text, text to speech, the bot, and the customer, and all that in real time, of course. And that's the beauty of AudioCodes, because we our DNA is voice, right?
Yes.
AudioCodes started, 32 years ago, literally building DSPs. So really the basis of voice. And from there we evolved over gateways and SBCs into solutions like what we are talking about today, which is connecting kind of any contact center with any bot framework and any cognitive service.
Right. And how did you guys see the landscape change with the rise of LLMs? Because it is becoming a different ballgame.
Oh, absolutely. And AI is nothing new in the contact center, right? We've been doing AI, and you know this way better than a lot of people, Barend. We've done AI for many years in the contact centers. It's just with the rise of ChatGPT in 2022 that everybody started talking about it. Now, we did see, or we do see a change in use cases and solutions and platforms since 2022. And a major part I see is that with the LLMs, new use cases are being top of mind for end customers. All of a sudden, it allowed customers or end customers to come up with very easy call summarization solutions. And building agent assist applications all of a sudden became a lot more easier than it was in the past. So where, let's say until 2020, end of 2022, beginning of 23, I saw a lot of virtual agents being the first use case people were trying to deploy, and then often struggling with because they wanted to do too much in one bot. Now, since let's say 23, 24, we see a lot of deployments for call summarization and agent assist, and that's really thanks to the rise of these LLMs and how good they've become. To be honest,
and that also opened the discussion more on a business case level, Barend, because in the past when we were talking about going from Link to Skype and from Skype to Teams, or from a legacy PBX system into Teams or WebEx or Zoom, that is replacement of something which was already there for something which was new, and that is. End customers always needs to create budget for those kinds of projects, and to have that budget, they need to have business case presented and make it positive, and that was always a challenge. And when you look into this area of customer interaction using AI, as I mentioned before, it's a challenge to get the right employees in and to keep your employees in. But efficiency of those employees, as Peter also mentioned, with call summaries, which need to be done, optimize the bureaucracy of your admin, so to say. This new technology opens new doors, and if you can save 1 hour time of a certain employee a day, well, you have a totally different business case discussion going on. And this is what I noticed in my conversations with end customers and partners, that business case conversation is getting more interesting and opens doors for opening new projects. And this is also a difference that I noticed in compared to 5-6 years ago, for example.
Yeah, and I think for the consumers, customer service and customer experience is becoming more and more important for their decision to stick to a brand or not, right? Because we can switch with a lot of things, product, services, but if we feel like we're served well, then we stay.
It's a good point. And I was actually last week at the Genesis sales kickoff, And there they talk about the experience economy a lot. And it's exactly that. It's one bad experience can actually make people change. So you want to make sure that you provide the best possible service to your customers to make sure they stay a customer and they don't run away and go and spend their money with someone else.
Yeah,
exactly.
or what I heard actually today in one of the conversations I had with a partner who has quite an interesting position in healthcare. I think the slogan of we're talking about was less time, more care, right? And that actually that says it all, right? Because if you can free up people in the healthcare, because one of the biggest issues in healthcare is administration, at least here in the Netherlands. I don't know if this is internationally the same topic, but I can imagine it is. And if you do a lot of admin, you can't do what's needed in the core, which is providing care to people, right? And if you can have applications supporting people, don't lay off people, no, free up their time so they can do what they're hired for, and that is providing care. And I think the technology is getting more and more ready to support those kind of challenges. So I think this is a very interesting angle to well, I'm pretty curious how this will evolve in the next 5 years, seeing how quick things already developed. Well, I think, Peter, on a monthly basis, right? It's going so fast. It's
accelerating.
Yeah, because the last couple of months, everybody was talking about OpenAI, and then all of a sudden, this DeepSeek bomb gets dropped.
Yes.
And then you see a lot of other stuff. And when you see what's happening in this space, whether it's what Anthropic is doing, or what Google is doing with Gemini, or what OpenAI is doing with their new models, it's amazing. And there are a lot of stuff, a lot of other enterprises out there with some really cool technology. If you look at Europe, Mistral is one of them, right? Where a lot of people are looking at what they're going to do. So it's pretty cool, and it's very hard to predict where this is going. Now, what I do know, and it's typically with technology, right? We typically, especially in the beginning of a hype, we overestimate the impact that it will have on a very short term. But we typically underestimate the impact it will have on the longer term.
Yeah, but it's the first time that developments are accelerating exponentially, right? So usually you have this Gartner hype cycle, but will this be the same graph, but then quicker, condensed, or because we can maybe over-deliver in 3 months because we don't know what will be pushed out there by another startup,
It's evolving so fast. It's very hard to predict what the next champion is going to be here, and what the next use case will be that you can start to deploy based on a new technology. That's exactly the reason why we've built our solution the way we've done it, to be able to allow companies to be flexible in connecting into different LLMs, into different cognitive services, into different bot frameworks, etc. Because it's very hard to predict who's going to come out on top in the next 6 months, leave alone in 3 years from now. And that's why I think it's critical to build in flexibility in your deployments today.
Yeah, I think this was, well, it refers back to the first question, I think, right? There was Cisco, there was Zoom, and there was Microsoft Teams in one question. For AudioCodes, that's irrelevant, right? It's up to the customer to decide. Obviously, Microsoft Teams became very important, but if a customer decides to go for Zoom or for WebEx, for us, that's perfectly fine. Peter mentioned Genesis as contact center application, which is a major partner of AudioCodes worldwide. But if a customer decides for a different contact center application, also perfectly fine for us. And the same goes for this AI, for the AI developments that we have. If a customer wants to use Microsoft or Google or Amazon or whatever bot developments which is out there, we can connect it. And that flexibility, well, I think this is one of the key added values, because it prevents a lock-in for enterprise customers and partners to a specific technology, which you never know will be the right choice in future.
Right. So then they're only locked into AudioCodes.
Yeah, well, yeah, more or less. Well, I don't think that's the case, because also there we need to be sharp, right? Because it's not always AudioCodes which is out there. We have a lot of technology vendors.
It's a bit of a joke, of course, but I think it's also good to mention, because we have the word privacy in the title of this interview, that you guys also provide a lot of stuff there to help clients immediately to be European compliant with all the rules here. So they don't have to bother too much about that, right? It's also part of this layer.
That's true. I don't think it's everybody's favorite topic, right? But we need to live up to the regulations which are out there, and the data compliancy rules and regulations is definitely important for AudioCodes itself, because we are officially registered at the NASDAQ. So obviously this for us is important, but also for our enterprise customers and partners. So besides the official documents that we have in place and all the certifications which we need to tick the boxes, it's also important that from a design perspective, we need to talk with partners and end customers about the requirements. But we have multiple angles there to make sure that end customers live up to the data compliancy rules of their specific location, even if they're global. Yeah.
Right. And then you also
maybe to add on top of that what Remy was just saying, and it's an important topic, but it's funny how different it is in between regions. If Remy and I are talking to enterprise accounts here in Europe, probably the second, if not the first question is about data privacy. Do you touch my data? Where is the data? How is it protected, etc. In the US, it's probably question 25 if they ask it at all. So it's very different how people and enterprises approach this topic. Now, we at AudioCodes take data privacy very seriously, and that goes with our own VOCA CIC contact center, where it's deployed in Azure, of course, but it's in Europe. So it's always Azure region in Europe. If we talk about Europe, to make sure that we are GDPR compliant, that we stay local with the legislation, etc. And when we talk about Voice AI Connect, we have different deployment options to make sure that we can comply with the requirements from our end customers. We can deploy Voice AI Connect in public clouds wherever you want. We can deploy it in your private cloud, so someone's private Azure account, for example,
right.
Or we can deploy it in a customer's data center. And then you've got full control about what's happening. And depending on how you build your solution, because obviously AudioCodes is never the only part of the solution, right? So it's always going to be part of an ecosystem. And you need to think about the complete ecosystem when you think about compliance. Now, we can deploy our part local in a data center of an enterprise account. You can deploy your bot framework, for example, Rasa, local as well. You have speech-to-text options that you can deploy local. For example, think about DeepGram. So this would allow you to have a call coming in onto and then for the technical people amongst us on an SBC in a local data center, send it off to a local deployment of Voice AI connect into a speech-to-text engine that's the DeepGram deployed locally as well, and interacting with a Rasa bot deployed locally as well. And then if you want, you can have your own local customized LLM in your data center as well. And that gives you full control about what's happening.
Right.
So do we consider this in our deployments and in our architectures? Absolutely. And we're trying to accommodate whatever is required for our customers.
But the same, well, I always make the comparison with the automotive, right? You have the cars driving on fuel, you have the electric cars, but you also the hybrid cars, right? And similar goes more or less with applications, right? Because you can still use SaaS applications which are hosted in our AudioCodes Azure cloud or in their own cloud environment. But for example, when you talk about recording solutions, where do you leave the storage? If you're happy, we can store it in our cloud. But if the customer wants to use our SaaS application, like Interaction Insights or Meeting Insights, the storage can be done locally, right? So it's all a matter of discussing the requirements, which in the result will result in the end in the proper design filling those requirements.
Yes, and do you guys think that the recent geopolitical developments will push Europe to step up and build our own data centers, right? Cloud services.
I do. Well, it's hard to predict. I wish we as Europe would step up, and I do see more questions from end customers that go towards European solutions, if I can call it like that. And then specifically, if you talk about LLMs, I see more customers looking to integrate with Mistral, for example.
Right.
I recently, and that's literally since the last 2 months, get more questions where in the past we saw a lot more deployments in private Azure accounts. I start to see more questions coming back and say, okay, can we also deploy in our data centers to avoid potentially deploying in an, if I can call it like that, American cloud, whether that's Azure, AWS, or Google. So is there some concern in the market? I think so, about what's happening out there today. Are people considering their options? Absolutely, yes. How this is going to play out, it's too early to predict. But it does raise concerns, or it does raise questions with customers today, yes.
Right. Yeah, let's see how it evolves. It's very interesting.
At the same time, whatever direction it will go, right? I can't predict it myself either, but it will tie into the flexibility in the open infrastructure, because at this point, for us, it's irrelevant the customer using Amazon, Google, or Azure, right? So if there will be a fourth or fifth cloud, then the flexibility still and the open infrastructure culture still remains.
Right. And I have another interesting question. This one's from Paul Roberts. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, with the rise of low-code and no-code AI voice agent platforms, where do you guys see the future of AudioCodes? More on the enabling part of enterprises to build themselves, or a shift to pre-built solutions? I don't know if this is something to predict.
Well, we've actually got the two. So that's a good thing, right? We, on the one hand, have our SaaS platform, which is called Live Hub, that allows you to easily do this bot connectivity and voice enable a bot yourself. I mean, it's literally self-service on LiveHub. I think it will take you probably 5 minutes to create an account, and then another 10 minutes to buy a phone number, connect your bot, and you can call your bot. It's that easy. So if we see, do we use low code, no code to make your life easy? This is what we've done in this LiveHub platform. So that's on the one end for people that want to do everything themselves. Now, do we allow people to touch every screw in the background to tweak a deployment in this? No, we can't, because it's SaaS, it's more standardized. So there will always be a requirement for large-scale deployments for enterprise accounts that want to touch more and have more control about a deployment like this. So there we have our enterprise edition that we deploy for in public clouds or in the enterprise data centers, specific to an enterprise customer. And then we do give them more control about what they can do, how they can do it, etc. But again, also there, we provide them with a portal to make it as easy as possible for them to manage it afterwards. Because typically we would deploy it, but allow them on day 2 to do the management themselves as far as they can. Yes, we would do, and that will be based on what we then do on a low code, no code base with what we call a live portal.
And practically, we always prefer to be there when there are incidents supporting the customer, but the control when there's no incident, but just the management. Well, in general, we prefer to hand that over to end customers or partners doing that.
Right. And can you tell more about? More about some struggles. People deal with voice projects, because you can say Dutch. It's one language. It's a small country, but even here we have 12 different dialects, and people talk in all these different kind of ways. Is that speech to text part obviously getting better, but it's also still hard work, right, to get everything running.
Yes, and but it's amazing the improvement we've seen in speech to text in particular. In the beginning, the main enterprises, think the Microsofts, the Googles, etc., they were primarily focusing on the big languages, right? Because that was where the market was for them, or the big market. They didn't focus on smaller languages, whether that's Dutch in our case, or whether that's Serbian or Norwegian or Finnish, for example. They didn't care too much about it. But what we've seen there is that you had a lot of local enterprises that then developed a solution that was specific to that market. And they came up with pretty good solutions. And now you see this competition in the market between those niche vendors that are specific into a specific language versus the big players, the Microsofts, the Googles, the Amazons, that try to come up with languages for all the regions. And we see, this competition also improves the quality of the speech to text. And if I look at the results from the majority of the deployments we see today, even with these smaller languages, they're really good, sometimes even amazing. I think 3 weeks ago, Remy and I were in Sweden, and we were doing a demo with call summarization in Swedish. The results were amazing. So and Sweden is, or Swedish is not a primary language for those big models.
Yeah.
And the result was really, really good. So we see a big improvement in the speech-to-text models, which also allows us to deploy more virtual agents, more agent assist, get that call summarization correct, etc.
Yeah, we're using one of the services that we have in our portfolio. We use it ourselves. Meeting Insights is called, for adding it to our meetings and providing call summaries and like that. We have it already for, I think, 3 years, and it's also part of our external portfolio right now. And when I compare the first meeting summaries 3 years ago to what it is today, actually the quality today is extremely good. It's I'm really happy with this being in the meetings, because this saves me a lot of summaries, and I'm feeling perfectly comfortable by sharing this with external parties as well, because the summary there is increased massively over compared to three years ago.
Yeah, that's great, because
Yeah.
I remember when Alexa came out and the Google Home, a lot of people were concerned that all the small languages would disappear eventually on Earth, because these big techs were just focusing on the big ones, the big languages. But yeah, thank God technology solved this problem we thought we might have.
Yeah, and to be honest, if we see, and yes, in Dutch we've got a number of accents and dialects, but if you look, for example, in Germany, it's probably even worse.
What about Belgium, Peter?
Or in Belgium, but to be honest, it's handled pretty well today with the new models, and we've been recently testing with, just to name one, some of our customers in Switzerland. They need Swiss German, right, to be supported, which was in the past typically a problem for the major players, the Microsofts and the Googles, etc.
Yeah.
To be honest, both of them have improved massively on Swiss German. And I'm not saying it's they're up to the level of the local providers already, but they've improved massively. And also, if you look at, for example, Deepgram, they've got a really good model for Swiss German these days. And we're testing it today with one of our financial customers in Switzerland. The way it looks now is we'll deploy Deepgram for Swiss German now.
So it's comparable almost to English.
Yeah, I mean, the results are absolutely in line with what they see on, well, and they don't use English, of course, over there, because they've got Italian and French and German and then Swiss German.
Yeah.
But it's in line with the other languages. They have the results.
Yeah.
So which is if you compare to even 2 years ago, you couldn't foresee it, but today we're there. So we've made massive steps in this technology. So it's great to see.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking at the chat. Anna is a big fan of AudioCodes, and she loves working with it. She linked it to chatbotbuilder.ai.
Yeah, exactly. So they're a great partner of us. So thank you, Anna.
Yeah, let me know where you live, Anna. We will send you flowers.
In the US, yeah. But I have one question from Raphael. Yeah, is it possible to create a no-code conversational flow agent with AudioCodes on premises or in the customer's cloud tenant, as currently available in the cloud with vendors such as retail.ai?
It depends what Raphael is looking at. If he is looking at the let's call it the bot framework itself, that's not what AudioCodes provides. That's typically where you go to Copilot Studio, Google Dialogflow, Rasa, Cognigy, Core AI, you name them. They will build the agent flow.
Yeah, exactly.
We at AudioCodes will provide the connectivity in between your bot framework, your contact center, and your cognitive services. So in this case, I think you need to look at solutions like Rasa and others that can be deployed locally.
So you stick to what you're good at and let the others.
Exactly.
We give the bot a voice, right? That's
yeah, but it's I mentioned it before, right? This conversational AI, it's an ecosystem because nobody can do everything.
No.
And we need to we're in there to help each other. We provide that connectivity and that orchestration layer. There are others that provide the bot frameworks. There are others that provide the LLMs. You will have other enterprises that provide the cognitive services or the contact centers. And our job is to connect everything. And that's what we've been doing for the last 30 years. And what I'm biased, what we're pretty good at.
Right.
Connect, but at the same time, give the owner of the entire solution, which is more or less the end customer, also the possibility to monitor and report on it, right? So we have the tooling that they can monitor and see what's going on in that ecosystem of partners that they prefer to have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it sounds like a good platform. I would love to work with AudioCodes one day. Who knows? It's almost 9:05. I don't know if you guys think, hey, I wanted to mention this as well during the session. This is the moment. Did we forget something? I think we touched a lot of nice topics and we got great questions. So.
Well, if people have questions, they're always they can always reach out to us, right, Barend?
Yes.
Remy and I are more than happy to answer questions. I know there were some questions in the chat. I'm not sure we answered everything or every one of those questions. I saw Jasper fill on trying to answer some of them, so thanks, Jasper.
Great.
And so, but feel free to reach out to Remy and myself. I think Barend will share the email addresses anyway. If not, we're on LinkedIn, so easy to find us.
Exactly.
So feel free to reach out to Remy and I, and we're more than happy to discuss any potential project or question you have.
Well, the part I love most of my job actually is to talk to partners and customers which are out there, right? So echo what Peter is saying. Please reach out to us, and we will schedule a call or a live meeting. And what I was mentioning at the start of the event, when there is a challenge with voice somewhere in the company or at the partner, we would like to be involved. We have the portfolio to support and complement our partners and end customers there. So again, reach out to us, and happy to bring this forward.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm looking at the last question we have here on the list, but it's about making a prediction where we stand in 3 years. But I think it's not even possible. Also, not for people in the industry. We don't know.
If I could predict this correctly, I would be a very rich man. And honestly, I can't even predict where we'll be in 3 months, leave alone in 3 years.
Well, maybe it's a nice thing, because I always remember what our CEO mentioned, and because I think in one of the internal meetings we had, he got the question why AudioCodes is still relevant, and he was making the comment that the thing that AudioCodes did well was always taking the right wave to serve on, right? And at the moment as we speak today, AI and virtual agents and customer conversations and interaction is the right wave. What will be the right wave 3 years from now? That is difficult to predict, but at the moment we're surfing the right wave, and this is what we need to leverage at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to thank you guys for sharing all this knowledge and insights. And I think it was a great session. And it's good to mention that you guys sponsor Beers and Bots, which will happen in Amsterdam on April 17th. It's the 6th edition of Beers and Bots, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I actually booked a stand-up comedian today, so she will.
Cool.
She will bash on AI and Trump and the European Union and everything. So that will be fun.
Okay,
and
we look. I was about to say, we look forward to Beers and Bots in April, Barend.
Yeah, you come with a team of 3 because Karsten will also be there, which is great.
It's timing. Good timing for stand-up comedians nowadays. A lot to talk
exactly.
about.
Exactly. Yeah, we could even ask an LLM to write those jokes, but let's also do the professional, do that job. Yeah, and from Botpreneurs, next Tuesday, we have another live interview planned. It's about lahelpnow.org. It's a volunteer-based initiative where a group of international conversation designers and tech enthusiasts built an AI assistant. And it was born after the LA fires, and it's now built in such a way that it can also serve in future disasters, which will unfortunately happen, that's for sure. Yeah, and on April 8th, there's an interview with Blend AI. They're also in the voice space because voice is booming. So just keep an eye on LinkedIn and on botpreneurs.live. You can also find an extensive conference calendar there. I'm actually leaving tomorrow to Cognigy's summit in Düsseldorf for 2 days. So I'm looking forward to that. A lot of familiar faces there. Maybe someone from AudioCodes, I don't know.
I'm not going to be there, but say hi to Phil and Sasha for me.
Yeah, I will for sure. Yeah, and so thanks for watching, everybody, and guys, thanks again for having this conversation.
Thanks, Barend. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Barend. Thanks to everyone joining. Appreciate it.
Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.